Hey everybody, welcome back to the show, Conversations with Kenny. I'm the host, Kenny, and I'm super pumped up today because joining me in the studio today is a very special guest. She is a functional medicine health coach. Please give a warm welcome to my good friend, Kelly Troup. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing real good. I'm doing real good. I'm excited you're here. I'm excited to have you on the show and talk a little bit about, you know, health coach stuff. I want to talk about lifestyle coach stuff, right? So, for the audience out there that's listening and the people who may not know you, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what does it mean to be like a health coach, a functioning medicine health coach?
Well, I am a functional medicine coach and a lifestyle coach. So we have two approaches because our lifestyle is really impacting how much disease we see today in
Okay.
people, chronic diseases, which obviously people that have dealt with our modern medicine aren't seeing too much results with. So a lot of times for me to help people get to their life goals of maybe their weight or their just optimal daily function, I got to dig deeper and I got to look for root causes as to why they're having the problems that they're having. And that's where the functional medicine comes in. In modern medicine, you go see your doctor, they hand you some supplements, they tell you, here, this will help with all your symptoms, but your symptoms are really just an alarm, and they're telling you that something underneath is not quite right.
Right.
Now, when you pull functional medicine in, we're trying to figure out what is not right and actually correct it so that you don't have those symptoms anymore. So that, because when you suppress a symptom, disease can show up down the road in worse ways. But if you correct the root cause, we fix the whole problem. So.
So how did you get into this? How did you What's your story? Like, how did you get into being like a life coach, a functioning medicine health coach?
I got sick.
You got sick.
I got sick. I was 26 years old and I had metabolic disease, which can manifest as a few different things. I had polycystic ovaries, I had hyperinsulinemia, I was
Shit.
overweight, and I could not seem to lose the weight. And that was actually my real frustration because I'm human like everybody else. And I was griping to my doctor saying, I can't lose weight and I don't understand why. I eat 1,200 calories a day, I eat whole grains and vegetables, and it's been like 3 months. I've been working out 5 days a week, and I've lost 10 pounds, and this is exhausting, and I don't understand why I'm not getting results. And he said, you might have something else going on. We should do blood work.
Yeah.
And being that he was an endocrine doctor, he looked for metabolic disease, which my family doctor would have never ran a test on my insulin levels or my estrogen and my hormones and all that stuff. And sure enough, I came back as inflamed and hormones all out of whack, blood sugar out of whack, and if you have inflammation, you're not going to lose weight. It's not the way it works. I mean, that fat is there to kind of prepare for inflammation, kind of put out a fire, if you will. So that was my first round. He told me I could either go on medication like metformin, or I could stop eating carbs. Very basic advice, but it's what fueled this fire because in 3 months this time, I was completely turned around. I had lost the 50 pounds. I wasn't willing to go on metformin, and now I didn't have to because all those metabolic markers were gone. And then later down the road, now that I've found like this wonderful lifestyle, I've done all the research as to why this works, and it's kind of like inspired this passion within me. Like, I'm not the kind of girl that was in health class and interested. This is definitely because of my life experience that this has created this fire of just wanting to help people because I've been sick and been in places where people couldn't help me. So when round two hit, I was eating really well. I had a really good lifestyle. I was creating new habits all the time because it's an ever learning field. And I was sick again. And this time it was different from the first time. It was my digestion wasn't working right. I was constantly fighting with not being able to eat and not being able to go to the bathroom. My body was really sore. My immune system was really touchy, and I couldn't figure it out. So I kept trying to like change how I eat. I'm gonna eat better. Like maybe I'm not eating enough veggies. Maybe I'm not, and trying to tweak my macros. And finally, I reached out to functional medicine and found answers. I had an underlying infection that a surgery at a local hospital gave me. It's known
Wow.
as C. diff, and it can kill people. And
Wow.
because of my good diet, I made it about 4 years before it really just stopped me in my tracks. And so I had to treat that. I had to take 3 months worth of antimicrobials, which is like plant tonics that are used to amplify our immune system to fight, infections. But that was literally what was causing what I would call now as lupus, because when I was able to dig deeper, I had antibodies where my body was attacking itself, and that's why my muscles were getting so sore. among, you know, all the other things that I had going on. My immune system was because it was constantly fighting something, and it was just getting to the point it was just attacking everything in its path. You know, that's what autoimmune essentially is. And you know, so whenever any other burden got thrown on there, I was just completely shut down. But with functional medicine, I was able to turn that around. My antibodies are gone. I no longer have any issues with lupus. And you know, so now it inspired a whole new round because some of my clients have these underlying infections. You've got Lyme's disease that's rampant in this area.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have things like mono that you get when you're a kid, not realizing that virus is always in your body and can flare up, you know, if you're not giving it the conditions to suppress it. Strep throat. People have had like chronic strep throat, like throat infections as a kid that keep repeating. They might have that virus in their body for life. And like that's not something our doctors tell us. That's not something they tell us to look for. So we need more practitioners that are kind of the middleman, and that's kind of what I am as a coach. Like I want to work with your doctor in a way.
Right.
I kind of want to open their mindset too, because I've had doctors that don't understand and said, well, your cholesterol is like 400, Kelly, like you need to go on meds. But my cholesterol was 400 because I had this underlying infection, and like turning around that infection got my levels down without ever touching a statin. So, you know, this is like the message that I want to get out to people is that we need to dig deeper than just our superficial health and going to our family doctor once a year and they listen to us for 10 minutes. We need practitioners like myself that'll listen to you for about an hour and really dig deep and try to figure out what the root cause is.
Really kind of figure out what's going on. When we're talking about functional medicine, are we talking about like, we're not talking about like pharmaceutical companies. We're talking about alternatives to the pharmaceutical companies, right? Because diet and vitamins, things like that, right?
Yes.
So, okay.
Lifestyle is always where I start with clients because your food, the amount of time you spend outside, your habits, getting enough sleep can create a lot of disease just in itself, like the toxins you use in your shampoo, all that good stuff.
Really?
And when I go for supplements, I'm not sending you to Walmart. I'm not sending you to CVS. I'm dealing with companies that have expectations for themselves that like say they use an ingredient that this year there was a lot of rain and the crop was moldy. Well, you know, the government has a guideline for mold, but these companies that I use have a guideline that's up here and they will shut that down. They will not have that supplement. They would rather be out of it for 4 months than give you something that is lower than their standard of quality.
Really?
So that's very important to my practice is that, and most of them are based off of nature, which, you know, and that's the great thing, like oregano oil. It is a great antimicrobial. It can also do a lot of damage to your gut health, so you have to know how to use it, which is why I come into this picture. Otherwise, I could just give you a list of stuff to take and say, kill everything in your body. But we're not just our bad bacteria. We need a balance in both our good and our bad. So, you know, you have to know how to use these things constructively, but they're always natural based.
Wow, that's awesome. So, what are some of these diseases? Like, what are some of the common diseases and things that we're going to notice from you know, poor diet? Because we all know about GMOs, genetically modified foods, and things like that. And especially, you know, is that directly related to, you know, some like health problems? Is that like, you know, is that?
That's a loaded question.
That's like kind of like, yeah,
yes,
it's kind
yes.
of a touchy.
So one of the major common ones is diabetes, which is a form of metabolic disease. 85 to 90% of people have metabolic disease. And it just shows up as
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, high blood pressure, imbalanced cholesterol, hypoglycemia, like those hangry people that don't eat every so many hours. You got insulin issues, bud. You're starting with metabolic disease. And it's really because if you look at how we're living today with carbohydrates, you know, a safe number for somebody who's pretty sedentary would be 150 carbs a day. Now, if you're like training at the gym every day, you can probably handle a little more carbs than somebody who's sedentary. But most of America these days is pretty sedentary. So 150 carbs, like if you think about like a Snickers bar and how many carbohydrates is in there, and you're already at...
I love Snickers bars.
And you're already at like 40 carbs.
Oh,
so
man.
like, you know, and then the things that you don't even realize that have them in there, and you're over that 150. If you're lucky, I mean, you're probably at like 300 carbs a day when you're just eating mindlessly. Like, you know, you had a Snickers bar, you had some pizza.
Well, man, that's me.
You know,
that's totally
cereal
me.
for breakfast or oatmeal. Oh gosh, because oatmeal, like, you know, any carbohydrate converts to a sugar in your body. It doesn't matter whether it's a banana. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of toast. It's all sugar. Sugar is sugar. Your body stores it the same way, and you can only store so much sugar,
Right.
a little bit in your muscles. And when you overburden that system and there's no more storage, it actually converts it to fat, and that's a lot of times like how our cholesterol gets out of whack. So
Okay.
with diabetes, we've got a lot of processed foods that are contributing. Then you've got diseases like autoimmune. And autoimmune also kind of populates from shitty food,
Right.
because especially like when we talk like GMOs and stuff, wheat is a major one that I love to like go after. Everyone just thinks I'm some gluten-free nerd, but when you really like do the science behind it, it's destroying people's guts health, like their gut health, if I can talk today. So basically, anytime you eat wheat, whether you're allergic to it or not, your body releases this chemical called zonulin. And zonulin opens these junctions in your gut, which is kind of like a screen window. It's supposed to let your nutrients through, but it's kind of maybe supposed to keep out some of the bigger particles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it's open, all these things come rushing in. Well, your immune system has to deal with all these things that don't belong in your bloodstream and starts attacking them. Now, wheat has a molecular mimicry to, like, say, your thyroid. So the tissue looks the same as, like, the wheat protein. So sometimes people with like hypothyroidism actually have like a Hashimoto's, which is where your body's attacking your thyroid. It's not like you're just genetically going to have this. It's you have the same conditions as somebody prior to you in your family, where like your body is just attacking it because there's things in your bloodstream that don't belong there, and they just look to the same as your natural tissue. But so the zonulin, that's everybody, whether you're allergic to it or not. So, and then you look at the fact that it's GMO. So all the wheat in the States is twice the gluten as the heirloom version. So what you find in Europe is a version called einkorn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's half the gluten. It's, it's produced like it used to be produced, where like you plant it and you harvest it in the fall. Whereas what we're growing here today, we harvest twice a year. And how we harvest it twice a year is we actually kill it with a chemical named Monsanto. And Monsanto,
Right.
I mean, people love to hate Monsanto, but they don't realize how common it is on their products. You don't wash the wheat before you process it. You don't wash the oats before you process it. So you're now consuming this chemical. This chemical blows up the stomach of bugs, and you're putting it in your body in high concentrations. Because think how many times a day you eat wheat, or how many times a day you eat
It's
grain.
in everything.
And it's in everything.
It's literally in everything. Cheez-Its and, I mean, it's in
Yeah,
everything.
so other than altering the
for
plant
sure.
itself, and a great thing to do is like look up like original versions. Like look up what a watermelon used to be. Look up what a banana used to be. These fruits had more fiber than they do today. They're mostly sugar today. So when we used to eat a fruit, we at least got the fiber that kind of balances the blood sugar aspect of it. And now we're not getting that. Like look at a strawberry. Strawberry is huge. If you've ever been out walking through a field and seen a wild strawberry, it's totally different. I've actually come across now where they're like crossbreeding strawberries with peanuts so that they can survive a freeze better, because peanuts have a protein that makes them more adaptable to being frozen. They don't. And so
Okay.
when you cross out the strawberry, now the strawberry can survive the freeze, which it couldn't have before. But now people with peanut allergies are eating these strawberries and having reactions. So food just really isn't what it used to be.
Right.
Like even when you look at it, like broccoli and cauliflower is not something you'll ever find foraging through the woods. It's something we actually created.
That's
And by GMO, by mixing different things together. So it's like, how much of this does our body actually recognize as food? You hear a lot about that with like sugars, like, oh, your body's still thinking it's a sugar, but it's not a sugar. Like when you get into like equal and aspartame and stuff like that, but it'll spike your insulin levels the same, and it really confuses the body because it doesn't recognize it as a food. It's kind of crazy to think how much of that's actually happening with the foods we are eating. So like we think they're healthy because they're fruits and veggies, but they're not the fruits and veggies that like the indigenous people were out there eating and consuming and harvesting.
Oh, it's completely different, and that's funny because I actually met a buddy for breakfast this morning, and we were talking about that. We were seeing how all the food nowadays, there's just like no energy. You know what I mean? You can eat fruits and vegetables, even the genetically modified ones, though you're just not feeling the energy from it. It just seems like something's off. You know what I mean? Just the food has been altered to really kind of lower your vibration a little bit is kind of how I picture it. But so the genetically modified fruit, like you said, strawberry, is there a big difference between a genetically modified strawberry and like an organic one? And are you still getting that health benefit from picking up fruits and vegetables at the Walmart that we all know are probably genetically modified? Is it still is there still a lot of health benefits to that, or do you want to kind of go more organic to really?
I mean, organic helps. I still question, like, I mean, I've seen organic broccoli, and again, we created broccoli. So sometimes labeling is the
Yeah,
biggest misinformation thing
absolutely.
that exists. You know, I mean, how many times have you picked up a box of cereal and it says healthy
Yeah,
or natural, and
right.
it's none of the above? So,
And that's the thing. Not to interrupt you or anything,
no, you're
but
good.
the most common thing I hear from people is that it's just so expensive to eat healthy. It's expensive to shop organic, and the prices are through the roof. So a lot of times we settle for, the cheaper
Hmm.
alternative, which may not be the best, but
Right.
so that's how I just kind of wanted to present that question to you. I guess was,
Yeah.
how much of a difference is there really between an organic strawberry and a genetically modified strawberry per
I'm
se?
sure maybe the pesticides are less aggressive. Are they still pesticides? Yes. And you're right, it's more expensive, it's more money. And I honestly, like, when I look at things, like, I don't want to buy strawberries in December. Like, I come from a very ancestral approach. Our ancestors didn't have chronic disease, our ancestors didn't have autoimmune, they didn't have diabetes, they very rarely, if ever, had cancer. And it's not just because we couldn't, like, diagnose it. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the first thing everyone always wants to go to. It's because it really just didn't exist, or they would have been focused on it. You know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
weren't. But nowadays, it's like 1 in 8 people, 1 in 10 people. You know, everybody's dealing with chronic issues, even migraines. You know, it's just constantly everywhere you look, somebody's miserable. They're in pain. They have no energy. They've got brain fog. Um, but so when you look at the ancestors and how much they were able to accomplish, because every day their survival mattered, and every day they had to
Absolutely.
do work. You know, there was no, like, I'm just gonna sit on the couch today. Like, they had to keep moving, and they had the energy to keep moving. And so, like, when I look at their lifestyle habits, to me that makes sense. Like, what are we missing? What's missing from the picture? What are we doing today? And my favorite new saying that I've been going on about is we took, like, an animal and took it out of its environment. So you'll see, like, a fish in a fishbowl, and you're like, oh, you know, it's dirty tank water, and they just, like, throw a bunch of supplements at the water. Or do you change the water? You know what I mean? Do you
Right.
clean it up? And our previous life was cleaner. We didn't live in
Absolutely.
artificial caves, you know,
Right.
houses. We lived in nature, and all those organisms worked with us, and we were symbiotic.
Absolutely.
And now it's like we just our lighting's not real, our environment's not real. How often do people really get outside even? And, like, even being outside sets your hormones for the day. Like, there's just all these things we didn't know when we tried to improve our quality of life. Then now we're able to look back on a scientific approach and be like, oh, the sun, yeah, it does things to you. Like, it benefits your
Absolutely.
life and your hormones, and we need it, you know.
Absolutely.
And yet everyone's slathering on that sunblock still,
Yeah.
and it has consequences in our health, you know.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the more superficial that we become on this planet, the more, unhealthier and disconnected we become with nature. Just like you said,
Hmm.
this is still relatively new for humanity to, like you said, be living in houses and artificial lighting and things like that. And you just mentioned the sun, which I really kind of want to get into because I know you're into red light therapy a lot. I know that's like a favorite thing of yours. And if you could kind of explain what red light therapy is and maybe touch on how the sun, can positively impact us in our health,
Hmm.
I would personally love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so red light and blue light, the two together. But red light is, you know, a UV spectrum of the sun that you would usually, well, it's not the UV spectrum, but it's in the spectrum of the sun. It's ultraviolet, you know, whatever. But in the morning, it had its purpose. So, like, if a human were to go out and watch the sunrise, it would actually give you more energy than a cup of coffee.
Really?
So, because it will start
Really?
to up your cortisol. And I know that cortisol is like a taboo word, right? Like, the cortisol, it's why I'm gaining this weight, the stress. But it does it in a sense where, like, we need cortisol for energy. That's what it's meant to do. So the sun will help us rise that in the morning, give us the energy for the day. And then, like, it also is a way to prepare our skin for more intense sun later in the day. So just like these different reactions are happening just with the sunrise. And then you have, like, your mid noon sun, and that's where we get, like, 30 minutes can give you vitamin D. And like that's great because in the winter, obviously, we don't get enough vitamin D, but you can actually store it for quite a bit. So if we can get some
Really?
in the summer on a daily basis, it'll definitely help with the amount of chronically low vitamin D levels that we see today.
I did not know that. So you're
Mhm.
saying if you spend enough time outside in the summer, your body will store vitamin D
Yes.
to
Mhm.
support you throughout the winter more or less
Yep.
because that is
It's actually
crazy.
a hormone. It's not a
Really?
vitamin at all. It's a hormone. And you
Huh.
can get some in some seafood, like some salmon and stuff too, but
Yeah.
like nothing replaces like what the sun does. And then in the evening, you have your sunset, and that's a whole different light. So now the like in the evening, um, the red light is actually going to lower those cortisol levels and up your melatonin. So it helps with sleep. So how many people do you know that have trouble sleeping?
Right.
Something as simple as just watching the sunset can actually prepare your body for rest. And
Really?
so the only problem is once you go inside and you flip on your light bulbs, you're flipping on blue light, which is going to elevate that cortisol. Because even though it's like considered red light, there's more blue light spectrum in the morning, which is why that cortisol elevates. But our bulbs in the houses, they're all blue light. So,
Really?
and then your TVs and your phones. So, like,
Okay. Yeah, I've
light
seen
some
the
candles,
yeah.
and
Right.
the candles are like natural red light, fire, flame. Our ancestors would have sat around a fire at night before going to bed. They usually used to go to bed like 2 hours after dark. So it's not like they went to bed as soon as it went dark. They'd be in that red light atmosphere. Nowadays, what's awesome about technology and what we could really use to our advantage is like we can kind of bring some of that stuff indoors. Like I'm always going to say nature knows best, but in the winter, it's like I can cuddle with my red light lamp and it can do wonders. And besides the fact of just like those hormones that I mentioned, like it lowers inflammation. It does so many things for like cellular regeneration, and we are built up of cells. Our organs are
Right.
clusters of cells. We need those guys to function. So like anything we can do to like help them along their way and regenerate is going to go long term for like our health benefits. So I use red light for a lot of those reasons. There's been studies where like people have done it on their thyroid every day, and 20% of them were able to decrease their thyroid medication or get off of it.
Really?
So like that's kind of crazy,
That
right?
is
Like
crazy.
to
That
see
is
that
mind
much
blowing.
benefit of just
Right. And the fact that nobody's talking about it just
mm,
blows my mind. You
yeah,
know, the answer is just in the pharmaceutical companies, they just automatically say, "Oh, well, take this
yeah.
pill and you'll be fine." That just is crazy. So, with the red light, you say red light therapy and you practice red light therapy. Does that mean I could just go on, Amazon and type in red light bulb and get the same effect, or is it
No, you need to know the spectrums. Like, so wavelengths matter, Yeah, you can get a red light bulb online. And I do find benefits with it. Like, I still think it's soothing and it's better to sit in that light than like a blue light at night. But it's probably only going to reach your skin just based on the wavelength. There are
okay?
some really great devices out there. Some of them get really expensive. There's a brand out there called Juve. Their products look amazing. But when it came down to it, their products are like $1,000 to $1,300,
Wow,
and I'm like, that's a lot.
that is a lot. Yeah.
And so I did my own research. I read a lot of biohackers that have already like played with these devices, and I found the Rejuvenator, which is made by a woman named Leanne Vanier, and she actually like gets into all the spectrums of color and like how they affect our well-being. Like she has some crazy stuff like the color yellow affects this in our like it makes us want to eat, and that's why some of these fast food companies use yellow in their color, for instance. Like that's just one example that I think I'm remembering
Wow.
correctly. So but like so she doesn't just study the red light spectrum, but she made a device. And when I read the reviews of her device, people were seeing results, and they don't know why because she doesn't let all her secrets out, but like she understands how light works and wavelengths work. So if anyone was going to create a device that I thought was going to
Right.
work, it's going to be somebody who that's their passion is like how light works. And she's actually been like pulled, like people wanted her to work for them and like make
Yeah.
their device. And she's like, nope, I'm doing it on my own because I'm not charging that. So I paid $600 for my device. And like I said, it's life changing. I actually had a buddy use it the other day, and he got marks on him. And now I've used this light day in day out, morning and night, never had a mark on me. And it's like it didn't burn him, or his whole back would have been burnt. So like I'm like, why did this happen? So I started reaching out to some friends that had the devices, and here was a detox reaction. So like it was just
Really?
like I got to see with my own eyes it actually like having an effect on somebody and working.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
crazy.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. How can you tell if you're like vitamin D deficient? Like, what are some signs if you're, say you need some of that red light? Like, are you just gonna be feeling it? Are you just gonna? Is
Well,
it
the
an
red
energy
light
thing?
might not necessarily give you your vitamin D, unfortunately. It's a different spectrum, different part of the light in the midday. And so, like, you can do tanning for that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
then, like, sometimes that's kind of aggressive too. So, a lot of times in the winter, it's going to be focusing on your, like, fatty fish, like your salmon and stuff like that. But you're going to know somewhat by blood work, but I say that with caution because your regular doctor is just going to run your vitamin D level. And those that are severely like deficient, it'll show up. But those that are kind of like walking the line, they need to do calcitriol because we need to make sure we're actually converting the vitamin D into the usable form. So blood work's still going to be the number one way, but living in this part of Pennsylvania, I
Right.
think we can assume that we could all just like support that system.
Right.
There are some good supplements out there too with vitamin D3 is the one you want to look for. But I also throw at you like you got to be able to shuttle that vitamin D. So like some vitamin K2 will actually help in that transport process. So that's where like a lot of people go wrong with trying to support their calcium in their bones. They never take the K2 to shuttle it. So all that money they're spending on,
Yeah.
calcium supplements is going out the window. And that's why someone that's like a functional medicine provider can kind of get in those little windows and be like, okay, you're trying to do good, but like we need to tweak it this way to really get the benefit you're looking for. Because so many people will throw at you, like, I've already tried everything. You have it. You have it. I haven't even tried
Right.
everything. So, and you have to know how to navigate things because you might not have tried the right thing or a good quality supplement or tried multiple factors to get a result instead of just one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Speaking of vitamins, I want to ask you. There's so many vitamins out there you can get. You
Yeah.
can go to Walmart. You can, get the one a day men's, or you can go online and find just pretty much everything. How can you tell the difference between a good vitamin and a bad vitamin? Because I'll tell you what, I tried taking one a day men's like last year, and it messed me up bad. Like I had a reaction to something. I mean, I thought I was gonna have to go to the ER. I felt so bloated and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kind of quit taking them. But I also know that I should be taking a vitamin. So how do you what do you look for when you're in your vitamins? How do you know which is a good vitamin and a bad vitamin? I
It
guess.
definitely doesn't show up at Walmart or CVS.
No.
Like I
No.
avoid those two company or those
Okay.
places for
Yeah, I
supplements
don't
like
blame
the
you.
plague. A lot of it is knowing your vitamins and knowing what's a quality vitamin. Like B12, a lot of those one a days you pick up, it's gonna say like cyanocobalamin.
Hmm.
It's a very cheap form. Your body's gonna have trouble like utilizing it. Whereas if you got like a methylcobalamin, your body can it's more the usable form and your body can like take it in. I don't specifically like multivitamins. The problem is they don't really work with your body. Some people don't realize like some vitamins need taken in isolation and
Hmm.
some need fat to even digest them.
Really?
Vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. A, D, E, and K they like to go with their fat. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's certain vitamins that we need to take with fat or like a fatty meal to be able to absorb it okay. So when you're taking all those clusters at once, our body's like getting an overload of things and maybe doesn't necessarily know what to do with it.
Hmm.
I will always say food is the answer first as far as like how to get your nutrients. And I realize some of us don't eat diversely, but the supplements that I give for people as a multivitamin is actually desiccated meat and it's organ meat because I know people don't realize this. We've been taught our whole lives that meat is a protein and we need meat for protein, and that's really all we learn about it. I mean, I don't recall ever learning anything different in health class. But really, there's actually minerals and there's vitamins in meat, especially when you get away from the muscle meats that we're all so like infatuated with. Not that there's not vitamins in that, but like the real nutrient density ones are going to be your organ meats. And it's when you look at the ancestral approach, again, if somebody was having an ailment, like say they were having trouble with their heart, they would take the heart of the animal and save it for that person in their tribe because the heart will store the vitamins that the heart needs. So it'll have CoQ10 in it. So when you eat that, then you're getting that vitamin you need. So living in the world we do, we should have health hacks, right? Because we're
Right.
intelligent and we've grown. These companies are actually making beef organs
We got
into
20 seconds
supplements.
left. Sorry, no,
Oh,
go ahead.
no, you're okay.
Yeah.
They make beef organs into supplements, and that's the most bioavailable, easily absorbed vitamins that aren't going to upset your stomach.
Really awesome. Okay, real quick, I need to jump over to. We got 4 seconds left. I'm gonna start segment 2 here, real quick. We'll just pick up where we left off right from there. Okay, and we're good. We're back.
Good,
in
we're
segment
back
2.
on.
Yeah, we're back. We're back on.
They're
We're on
trying to
segment
cut
2.
us short.
I know, right? Okay, so yeah, we were talking about vitamins, and you're talking about organs and how a lot of good vitamins can be found in those. I can tell you something. I love liver. I am a big fan of liver. And liver and onions is my go-to organ.
And I'll eat it too. Like, I'm crazy like that. I'm like actually just learning to love all these different diversity in meat and stuff like that. But so many people are scared of it. They're like, I could never touch it. I don't want it. And that's like, okay, well then we have a substitute for you. Like,
Right.
swallow this capsule. It's not a prescription drug. It's still food. You're still gonna break it down, and you just don't have to taste it.
That's great.
It's baby steps.
Yeah, that's great. So you work with people, and you kind of hear about their issues, what kind of health problems they may be having. You work with a diet for them, kind of what vitamins they may be lacking, things like that. That's great. I love all that. I love all that. So, you know, where can people find you? Where can people find your information if somebody wants to reach out and and get started on this journey of living a healthier lifestyle and maybe reversing some, some chronic diseases that they may have or preventing them? Where can they find you at?
So I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I have a group. It's called the Real Food Revol. It's kind of a play on the word rebel because I'm trying to remind people out there that like real food is where it's at. You really can't go super wrong with just eating real food. So I have a group on Facebook. I've been working on growing that and trying to interact with people. I love feedback. So if there's something you need more of, I mean, because I've been doing this for a few years, sometimes I forget to go back to the basics of where to start as far as like group posting, because I get into the science nitty gritty of chronic disease and I love to go on rants about them and just like tie in everything together. But sometimes, the simple posts are good too, just to like help for the beginners. So have that on Facebook, and then on Instagram, I'm also known as the Real Food Revol. And again, it's REVOL. And I post a lot on there as well. I try to do both simultaneously, but sometimes the groups are in different places, based on what they want or need. And I have a website, which is also therealfoodrevol.com. It's under work right now. We're trying to, upgrade and get some more programs. We have some great things in the works to come so that clients can walk themselves through a lot of it on their own. We want to do some courses, all that fun stuff. So.
That is great. That's so awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm super excited that we had this conversation, and I'm hoping we can set up another show sometime and get into some spiritual stuff maybe. But anybody that wants to reach out to Kelly and get a hold of her, therealfoodrevol.com. She's also on Facebook. You can look her up, and stay tuned for the next